Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And we're going to do something that I have not done before, and I'm really excited about it. We're going to make pins, safety clip pins. And we're not going to take a safety pin and just unfurl the loop and put some beads on it and wrap the loop back up and close it back up. No, we're going to make our own pins because why not? So we're going to make some beaded safety pin pins. And all we need for that is our usual tools, our round nose pliers, round all the way around the barrels with graduated to the tip, gets gradually smaller till you get to the tip. Square nose pliers that are slightly rounded on the outside and then also gravitate towards almost a point at the top, but the inside of them is completely flat, which helps you get a flat shape when you're using it with your wire. Now, when you buy these in the store, make sure you get the kind that doesn't have the ridges on the inside so that it doesn't chew your wire up when you're trying to use it. The third thing is going to be some wire cutters. Now, you can use this kind that's concave on the inside and flat on the outside, or you can use this kind. They both do the same thing. They're both flush cutters. They do it. They cut wire basically. So whatever you choose is up to you, as long as they're nice and sharp and will cut your wire. The fourth thing that you need is a ruler to measure your wire. And we are going to need a selection of beads. Those of you who get kits, I am sticking with my going back to my roots for this month, and we're going to have some paper beads from Africa, some millefiori, and I know I'm going to give you either millefiori or cloisonne from Asia, or I might give you both. And then you'll have a selection of other beads as well to make your pins. Now, we're going to be using 20 gauge wire. I want to tell you about that. You can use heavier wire. I've seen people use heavier wire, and I've tried it with different sizes of wire. But one of the most important things that you need to do is be able to get a nice, strong tip on the end. It needs to be nice and pointy on the end. And I could not get a pointy enough tip with anything larger than 20 gauge wire. Everything else, I don't care what I did to it. I cut it down to a point. I shaved it with file. And granted, I did try to get it through some very close woven material just so that I could say you can get it through anything, but I could not get it through anything. If it's a very close weave, it would put holes in it. Now, if I had been doing it with a sweater or something like that, that's a little bit more of an open weave, it would have been fine. Then I could use larger wire. But if I was trying to put it through something that's a little more tightly woven, 20 gauge was the best that I was going to be able to do. Now, so you're going to need 20 gauge wire, and that's what I'm putting in the kits. Now, if you're worried about it not being strong enough, which is a concern, a valid concern, what you can do is take like a little rubber mallet and you can hammer it just to get it a little stiffer, a little more work hardened. That's what I'm doing. I don't mean pound it to death. I mean just tap it and for a little while until you can get it a little more stiff, because the wire that I'm using is soft. So if you work, the term work hardened means that you've worked the wire enough so that it stiffens up as you go. So that's what we're doing today. 20 gauge wire, a selection of beads, round and square, nose pliers and cutters, and a ruler. That's what you'll need to make our pieces today. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing I needed was to cut a piece of 20 gauge wire. And what I'm going to do, I'm making these, we could just make a plain one. Let me see, do I have a plain one here? Yes, we could make a plain one, but I did this in class. We did some nice straightforward ones with the nice little hook on the end and the beads on it. And they came out really great. But I wanted to do something a little more ornate that I didn't think would lend well to a classroom setting because it's kind of hard to teach when you have a lot of people trying to learn how to do that. The other one was a way to start. And I showed them some of the others I was thinking about in the classroom, and they were so disappointed that they didn't get to do it, that I promised them that I would do a tutorial for those. So that's what we're going to do. Not only that is I love these. They're so much fun to make and wear. I just love it. I'm so glad I had been thinking of doing this for a long time, and I'm so glad I decided to do it. So let's get going. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is kind of along the lines of how I know I'm chattering a lot, but I know I like to do embellished ear. I've been doing embellished clasps and links and ear wires and really ornate head pins. It's along the lines of that. I just want to add something different to this particular project. So the first thing that we're going to do is make a heart pin, or a pin with a heart, embellished heart head. So what I want to do is measure 1.5 inches of from the tip of my wire, and I'm going to fold that in two. It's not in half because, of course, one's a lot shorter than the other. So I'm going to fold that in two, and then I'm going to squeeze the two wires side by side, or the two pieces of the one wire side by side. Okay, as much as I can with my fingers, then I'm going to grab my square pliers and I'm going to squeeze them the rest of the way until it's completely closed. There. And now I'm going to take the two wires and I'm going to pull them apart. Now, I don't mean pull them straight apart. These are side by side. I'm not pulling them out to the sides. I'm pulling them front to back. So there we go. And now I have the start of my little heart shape. Then I'm going to grab my pliers. It depends on how big you want your heart to be. I'm going to grab my pliers and slide my wire about 1/4 of the way down my pliers and just hold on to the tip of my wire. And I'm going to fold the long tail of wire over one side, over one barrel, and the short tail over the other barrel until I have a little heart. Just like that. And then without opening my pliers, because I don't want to change the shape of my heart, I'm going to slide that off. And there's my little heart. And then you can kind of shape it. If it doesn't look exactly the way you want, like one of them's bigger than the other or something like that, you can go back in and make whatever corrections you need to make. I like mine to be a little bit asymmetrical, then I don't have to worry about them both being exactly the same. And I think it makes it a little bit more fun, a little more quirky if they don't have to exactly match each other. Okay, so that is looking pretty good. So then I'm going to grab my square pliers. Let's pull that a little tighter. Just a little more. There we go. I'm going to grab my square pliers and hold on to the face of my heart, which is what I call it, the flat part. And I'm going to turn my wire straight down like that. bring that over a little bit further. There we go. Because I don't need too big a heart. So there's that. I'm going to pull this down a little bit closer. Okay, so there's my heart. I think I can do with a little less light. That can help. There, I think that's a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm going to wrap this little short tail around the long strand of wire. One time, I just need one wrap. Okay. Just need to secure my heart. And once I've done that, I'm going to clip off that tip here. Just clip that off and push down that little end so it won't snag on anything. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to wrap this long tail of wire. Oh, no, I'm missing a step, Virginia. Now I'm going to go just down here below my wrap, just beneath the wrap with my pliers, sliding it down about a quarter of the way down my pliers. Not that that really matters, but that's the way I can hold it better. How's that? Is that better? It's weird the way it goes in and out like that. Let's see if I can get this a little clearer. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to go right down here below that wrap, and I'm going to bend my wire. Okay. And then I'm going to fold it all the way. I'm going to use my round nose pliers to guide me. I'm going to fold that back wire all the way up behind the heart. So that's what I have. Then I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to squeeze these two little wires together, or these two sides of the wire together, until they're almost closed, but not quite. Here we go. Then I'm going to take my wire, make sure that's straight. There we go. I'm going to bend it to one side. It doesn't matter which side, just pick a side and bend it to the side like that. And then I'm going to bring the wire around the side of the heart, just like a little frame. So I'm just going to bend it around the heart, just following the path of the heart. And you can do this with your fingers. I'm so sorry. I know my fingers are kind of blocking what you see, but what I'm doing is just wrapping it around in front of the heart until it's just right beside it. Like so. So I just have a little frame. Right. And once I have that, show you all angles. Okay. And then I'm going to just straighten my little wire out. So what I have now is the head of my pin. And this is where the this part, like this piece of wire, is going to go in as the pin. It'll make more sense in a minute. So now I'm just going to fill up my wire with beads. Now, when you're putting your beads on, you need enough wire on this side to support your loop, and the pin part, which needs to come up into the little bill that we just made. So if you give yourself an inch of wire, you need at least 1.25 inches. If you've given yourself an inch of beads, you need at least 1.25 inches of wire on the opposite side, plus about 1/2 inch to make your little spring part with the loops. So that's going to be 1.25 inches plus 1/2 would be 1.75 inches of wire. So let's see what I have. Just below my little beak here is where I'm going. I have 3 inches. So if I give myself 1 inch, I'm going to have 2 inches of wire in order to make my little spring loops and my little pin part. That's plenty. So I'm going to go ahead and bead some beads on here. And I'm pretty sure this is about 1 inch worth of beads. And those of you who get kits, well, I've already told you some of the special beads that you're going to get. You're going to get and you're going to get another selection of beads as well that you can put with those beads in order to make your pin. Wow, that's very pretty. I like that. I thought I was going to sit here and take them off and put them back on in a different order, but no. I like that very, very much. So now I'm going to make the spring part, spring loop down here at the bottom. So now what I need to do is grab my round pliers, go down here to the bottom of my beads. And when I make my pin, the pin has to come up to go into my the little head of my pin. So what I want to do, you know what, before I do that, I'm going to go down here and finish off this little head. And what I want to do is just take my round nose pliers right here under the beak. I call this a beak because it looks like a duck's beak to me. And I'm going to turn it up, just twist my wrist just a little bit to create what one of my students said called a little ladle on the end. I love that. Just a little ladle on the tip. So it's just got that little nice little curved shape. All right, now let's go back down here to the bottom, just beneath my beads, and let's make our pin. Well, actually, we're going to make the spring loop part of our pin. So I'm going to slide my wire down my pliers about 1/4 of the way. It doesn't have to be too big. I'm going to bend this back just a little bit. Not much, just a little, because I like mine to be a little centered. Slide my wire down 1/4 of the way down my pliers. And then I'm going to bring the wire around my pliers and up toward the little bill here. So I'm going to bring this around my pliers and straight up. Then I'm going to reposition my pliers to make it a little easier for me and rotate and bring the wire in between the pliers in my beads and straight up against my pliers and straight down away from the head. Okay, so this is the first part of my spring. And I was here, and this is where I ended. Where was I? Yeah, this is where I ended. with my wire straight down. Now, I need to make another half loop. We make a loop and a half. And what I need to do, because I'm using round nose pliers that get gradually smaller as they go to the tip, to make my other half loop, I need to switch my wire around to this side so that this half loop will be the same size as this loop. If I kept going with it on the other side, this side would be smaller than this loop. So I want the loops to be the same. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that wire around the rest of the way toward the bill of my pin. And there's my little spring. There we go. Now I just need to finish it off. Now, one thing that you can do, like I mentioned before, is you can hammer this a bit. Watch out for the hedge. You don't want to smash that. All right, so now I've done that. Straighten it back out. It feels a little stronger already. Very good. Let's go back in there. Bring that around. Nice. All right, now all I need to do is finish my pin. So I need to cut this down so that the tip rests just under where this wrap is. So I want my tip to go right inside between my beads and the head of my pin. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just cut it right about here, just under the wrapped loops. There we go. I didn't hold it and I heard it fly across the room. And in it goes. There it is. Awesome. It's my little heart pin. The last thing that I need to do is cut this down to a point. Well, this is the second to the last thing. So what I do is line it up beside the tip. So I'm going to cut it at an angle. So I'm going to line that up beside the tip and slightly down the wire. I don't want this to fly. And then snip. And it's going to take some elbow grease because we're cutting long ways. And now I have a nice little point on the end. See that? Very good. The last thing that I need to do is file it because this is going to be a little rough after you cut it. So you want to take a little file and just smooth out that roughness. You want to just get rid of any rough edges. And it's not that hard. And another thing you can do if you use heavier wire, which is what I was doing, if you're using larger wire, you can do this, and then you can also kind of squeeze it with your flat pliers to just condense the wire a little tighter. Okay, let's see. I like to feel it with my fingernail and see if it's nice and smooth. And it is very good. And now close it up. And there's my pen. Isn't that just the cutest little thing? My little heart pen. Nice. Let's do another one. Okay, so this one, let's make, let's do a spiral because you know me, I really like spirals. Straighten this out. This also helps warm up the wire and also helps to work harden it. Now, what I'm going to do now is just pound it a little bit before I start working on it. There. I don't talk when I'm doing that because I know my laptop doesn't like that and it just shuts down the audio. It's such a shock to it, I guess. Okay, so now we're going to make a spiral. So what I want to do now is grab my round nose pliers and I'm going to make a loop just like we do with any spiral. I'm going to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers and make a loop. Okay. And I'm going to stop before it touches the back of my wire because I want to make an open spiral. So I'm going to wrap the wire around itself without letting it touch. And then once I get to the point where I can't do this inside anymore, I'm going to grab my square pliers, make that a little smaller. Wait, I want it quite that large. Okay, I'm going to grab my square pliers and continue the wrap. You can also use your fingers, but if I do that, you won't be able to see anything I'm doing. Okay, and just make it the size that you want. Doesn't have to be too big. And I think that is going to do it. There we go. So I have a nice little spiral there. And I'm going to do just like I did with the heart. Go down here below the spiral and put a bend in. So there's my little bend. And I'm going to grab my round pliers and bring that all the way around, like so. So that's what I have now. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze these two ends of wire closer together, not completely closed, but just enough to make the little bill. That's going to be the receptacle for my pin. There. And now, just like I did with the heart, I'm going to wrap my wire around the side, right beside my loop, the outer loop of my spiral. Just wrap that around like so till the wires are side by side. There we go. Make whatever adjustments I need to make. Get that down there. Nice and even around the other wires. There we are. There. Nice. And now I'm going to make my little ladle on the tip of my bill. You can use your round nose pliers, you can use your square nose pliers, whatever, but you're just going to go right here on the tip of the rounded part and put a little boop, just like that. There. And again, make any adjustments that you need to. It's nice and straight. Sometimes it gets a little out of whack when I'm making my little ladle. So just go back and correct. There we go. Yes. It's a little off here. Straighten that out. There we go. There, nice and neat and tidy. Now comes the loading of the beads. Okay, what do we got here? Oops, back. And again, I just have a collection of beads. There's no rhyme or reason to them. I just liked them. And one of them is a Millefiori, Italy. Isn't that neat? Millefiori means 1,000 flowers. So the Millefiori beads always have flowers on them. So you've got your little flower here. There's a little flower there. Neat. Okay. Little glass bead on. A little crystal. And I found this cute little star. I said, I am definitely using that. There we go. Nice. The only thing that I would caution you about is not putting too big a bead up here near the bill. Otherwise, you won't be able to get your pin in, and that will defeat the whole purpose. It'll probably be pretty, but it won't be functional. So there are my beads. It's time for me to do my wrap. Same rule of thumb. If you have an inch of beads, you need a good inch and 3/4, 1 inch and let me see, an inch and a quarter. Yeah, a good inch and 3/4 of wire in order to have enough for it to go into your little receptacle and to make your loops for your pin, for your spring mechanism. Okay, so I know that I have more than an inch and 3/4 here without even measuring. Looks like at least, oh yeah, I have way more than I need. So I'm going to go ahead and make my little spring, my little loops. Now bend this back just a tiny bit, not quite 90 degrees. Grab my round nose pliers, slide down about a quarter of the way down my pliers, and make a loop as far as I can go without going over both barrels of my pliers. Okay. Then I'm going to reposition my pliers, meaning I turn them up out of the way of my wire. And I'm going to continue until it's going in the opposite direction from the top. So it's going down away from the top. Then I'm going to take my pliers out, turn my piece around, and slide my pliers back in with the top barrel in the loop, the bottom barrel under the loop and the wire. I'm going to bring the wire all the way around until it's facing up towards my hook. There we go. And my spring is complete. Now I just need to cut it off so that it'll go right here in the hook. And I want it to go under, it needs to go under my spiral. I'll cut that off. Oh, I did it again. This time, at least I saw where it went. Gee whiz, Virginia. Check it out. Make sure it'll fit. It will. Ah, see, I closed that up just a little too much. Let's open that up a little. And I can use my fingernail to do that as long as I don't mangle my hook. Gee, this a little too strong. Get back over there. Get back over there where you belong. Okay. So I just need to, and if you don't want to ruin your nails, you can find something else to slide in there to get it open. For instance, let me see, do I have a piece of wire? Yeah, I can slide a piece of wire in down here and just slide it up. Well, that didn't work. Fingernail. There. Just open it up. And now I need to make some adjustments. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Let's straighten that out again as I mangled my little pin. Straighten it out. Okay, and check it out. There we go. Nice. I'm going to cut it a little teeny bit shorter. It doesn't really have to be, but I'm going to take a little bit off the tip here. Just a smidge. I'm going to be a good girl and put it down in here. Okay. There we go. Nice. I'll pull this out just a little bit. There. And what you want to do is make sure this is sticking out like a pin does, so that when you slide it in here, it will catch inside. Okay, so then the last thing we're going to do is just what I did with the other one. We're going to cut this at an angle from the outside of the wire to the tip. File it down until there aren't any rough edges. Still a little rough. I can feel it. Oh, wow, now it's very smooth. Okay, good. And pop it under there. And there's my little pin. And my pretty little military bead. Put out there where you can be seen. There it is. Isn't that neat? I love it. All right. Let's do one more, just because I want to. So what I want to do, I want to show you how to do one of these plain ones, but with something different on the beads. We're going to put a wrap around the beads. So I need 8 inches of wire for that. And what I'm going to do is just go right in the center and bend. Put a bend in for my little bill, my little receptacle, my hook, whatever you want to call it. Squeeze those together as close as I can get. Okay, I'm almost finished. I always set up my clock so that it tells me when I'm talking too much, which I'm obviously doing. Okay, squeeze those together until they're almost closed, but not just side by side. Just leave them side by side, but not touching. Okay. There we go. Open that out a little bit and get rid of that little dip that's in there. Make it nice and straight. Okay, there we go. That's better. A little bit more, tiny bit. All right. Okay, and now I'm going to make the bill. So what I'm going to do is take the tip of my pliers and put a little bend in it. So I'm holding this flat down until my wires are side by side, and I'm going to put the tip of my pliers on the tip of the bended wire, and I'm going to give it a little tweak, just like that, until I have that little ladle. Then I'm going to take my pliers down about a quarter of the way from the tip of my wire, like so, and I'm going to make a hook. So small turn, open, reposition my pliers towards myself, another small turn, open, turn my pliers back towards myself again, and there we go. And I always like to go all the way and touch the back and then open it back up. That assures that I have a nice round hook. There we go. Bring that down a little bit more. Just a smidge. Make that a little bit longer. There we go. That looks good. This together. There, that's good. That's good. That's good. All right, now I'm going to take one of my wires. I'm going to take the longest one. It's a slight, teeny tiny bit longer than the other one. I'm going to grab my 2 wires right there, just the bottom plier, or the bottom of the pliers is just below the bottom of my hook. I'm going to bring that wire straight up towards the ceiling, just like that. Then I'm going to wrap that wire around the other wire one time. Just wrap that around and stop. Now I'm going to load some beads. Got a nice little group of beads sitting here, just waiting to be used. Let's put them on, no rhyme or reason. all different colors. I've got orange, I've got cobalt, I've got lilac, I've got sea green. Cute. They all add up to pretty. How do you like them apples? It's a little clearer. I think it's as good as it's gonna get. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wrap this around the beads just for the fun of it, just for no other reason than it's fun. Well, let me check something out here. Make sure I have enough wire. I need about 1.5 inches or 1 3/4 inches, and I have just that, just enough. So I'm going to go ahead and make my loop. So I'm going to slide in a tiny fraction away from my bead, because when I wrap this around, I'm going to need some place for the wrap to go. So I'm going to go ahead and make my loop. Okay, wrap that around. Got to avoid the beads. Reposition my pliers. Bring it up and stop there. Let's just stop there, because now I'm going to wrap the wire around my beads. So I'm just going to take the wire. You can wrap it one time across. You can wrap it several times around. I'm just going to let the wire tell me where it wants to go. There, just make it a little spiral. Just a little spiral around my beads. And wrap it right in between my loop and my bead. That's it, just one little wrap, no more than that. Just enough to secure the wire. Okay, and then close that down, squeeze that down, and cut off the excess wire. Okay, and now let's go ahead and finish my loop. Okay, go back here behind the loop and the wire and bring that up. Ooh, I'm just gonna make it. Make my little spring. I don't even think I need to cut anything off. So there's my little spring. It's going to fit perfectly. And if you want to, if you think that's too short, that's a little short, just go back in here and make this a little longer. So I'm going to go down a fraction of an inch from the top of my hook here. I've got a little space in there, and I'm going to pull that out of the way. I'm going to pull this little tip down a little bit lower, just like that. So now I have more space to house my little pin. And if you want to go even deeper, you can do that. Go back in, move down a fraction of an inch from the top, and do that a fraction at a time. You don't want to pull down too much. Pull it down. There we go. That looks very good. Very, very good. Clip off my end, add an angle to create my tip. Yeah, I have the Arnold Schwarzenegger to get this. There we go. I'm coming. Almost finished. Okay. Straighten that out. I have my little file. And when you're filing, try not to bend. You don't want to bend your wire. You just want to smooth out those edges. Get nice and smooth. Okay, straighten it out. There we have it. There's my little pin with the wrapped beads. What could be cuter than these? I love it. So much fun making these. Isn't that neat? I mean, they're just so much fun. I love it. We're gonna have to revisit this. Look at this. I've gone crazy. I've made so many of them. And you can also, you don't have to put beads on these at all, especially with these little fancier heads. Get in there. Especially with the fancier heads on top. You can just do this. Make your little spiral or your little heart or whatever design you come up with, and then dangle something. I got that from the folks in my class. They made some little dangles out of the extra beads that they had. And what's, I mean, there's so much that you can do with these. They were talking about hanging them off of their purse or their backpack and things like that. It's just such a neat idea. I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I'm just making it a little brooch. They're making them everything. I mean, it's just so neat. I am in love with these little guys. So that's it, ladies and gents. That is our project for today. And what a fun project it was. Look at all of these guys. So neat. I love it. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. I'm going to sit here and play with them. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you'll make some of your own. Those of you who get kits, you're going to have enough to make several. So I hope that you'll do it, and I hope you'll show me pictures. I just love to see that. I love to see what your creativity creates, and it just makes me so happy. So this is what I've been doing for the last couple of hours. You can make these in no time. I'm thinking of something like this for Father's Day, except making it like a collar pin or something like that, like they used to wear in the olden days, and sometimes still do. I'm thinking about it. Anyway, I'm in love with these things, so you just might see them again. So until next time, I hope you have a great week, have a great weekend, and I hope to see you. I'm finished. Oh my goodness. In my clock. I hope to see you later. Bye-bye.